All right, and we're live. So um, we are here with Robyn, and I've been wanting to actually interview Robyn for a while. Yeah,
Oh,
because I've been watching her channel. She does amazing content on YouTube. If you haven't watched it, go and check it out. And I think that you have a lot of wisdom to share. And
thank
this is why
you.
I wanted to kind of like talk to you about some stuff live with all these people. And then, as always, chat. Like, thanks to everyone for actually coming along and being here. Drop questions. We will answer them as soon as we possibly can. But yeah, Robyn, welcome.
Thank you, Harvey. Thank you for having me. That's very nice of you to say. Thank you.
No problem. No problem at all. So, like, I actually, when I got in touch with you over Twitter, I did told you that you are the very first female animator showing up here in this chat, and I only just realized, and I only just realized that not long ago, and I'm like, man, this is like rubbish. I need to, and because I've been watching your channel for so long, I was like, Robyn will be perfect. So thanks a lot for accepting.
Thank you.
Um,
Thank you for recognizing that as well.
yeah,
Some people wouldn't. So,
yeah, no, for sure. And I wanted to talk to you about like your career and the things that you've done so far. First and foremost, you are based in South Africa, am I right?
yeah, Johannesburg.
Johannesburg. And can you tell us a little bit about what started your passion for animation and what got you here?
So, yeah, okay. So, I'm not that person who always had a passion for animation necessarily. Like, I mean, I always loved watching animated content, movies
Hmm.
and stuff like that. Always was obsessed with Nightmare Before Christmas. I was that emo
Oh
kid who
yeah,
had everything Jack Skellington. Yes, that was me.
100%. Yeah.
So I always loved animation, but it didn't always seem like a viable career choice, especially
Hmm.
here in South Africa. When I was looking for like a career, I didn't even know animation was an option. It wasn't really a big industry here when I was starting out. So it just happened, it just happened by chance.
Mm.
I had to go to college. My mom insisted I go to college. So I just wanted to find something creative. And I just heard an ad on a radio that I could do animation at this one college. And I was like, oh, that sounds cool. That sounds fun.
Yeah.
Joke's on me. It's a lot of hard work, but
It's a lot.
I don't
Yeah,
regret
for
it.
sure, for sure.
Yeah, so I just fell into it, but I definitely, once I started and I just saw all the stuff you could do, like when it became a reality for me that I could actually make, stuff like what you sit and watch,
Hmm.
all this amazing stuff that takes you into another world, that's when I really became very passionate about it because it is so amazing.
It is. It is. It is. It takes you somewhere else, right?
It really
Um,
does.
yeah, it's just mind blowing. And how long did it took you for you to actually become an animator that you could actually work professionally? You think?
Well, I did college for 3 years. And then after that, it was about a year that I was looking for work as an animator. I had to do part-time jobs and stuff in the meantime. I was a receptionist and a temp and stuff. And I
Right.
would freelance like in the evenings and stuff just to build up my portfolio. Because obviously, usually when you leave your college portfolio is not that great. A lot of the time, it's not going to
That's
get
for
you a job
sure.
unless you're like really amazing. Some people are. I wasn't that person. I was not. It wasn't
Likewise.
good. Yeah,
It's
I'll be
pretty
the first to
rubbish.
say it
Yeah.
was rubbish when I left school. So it took me about a year to get to like a professional, proper level before I could get a full-time job.
Yeah. Makes sense. Makes sense. And like, if you're anything like me, you must have like struggled quite a bit, like both professionally and personally, and thinking for over that year of like, is this even for me? Right.
Oh,
After studying for
yes.
3 years and after actually
Yeah.
trying to apply for jobs and getting all the denials that you get, letters and all that stuff. Like, what made you kind of like power through all that?
The student loans. There's not like no chance that I'm going to study for 3 years, waste that time and that money and have these loans to pay off and not have that be my career.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Yeah. That's great. That's great. And it worked out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's just pure tenacity. You just keep pushing. Even if you start out really bad and you're rubbish, you just keep working and just keep trying. You'll get there eventually.
That's amazing. That's really, really cool. And what are you working on now, like professionally?
We just finished up a big project because I work full time for a studio. We just finished up quite a big VR project that was quite cool. It was sort of for this competition where people could go into the VR world online and play this game and collect these little collectibles and stuff to win prizes.
Nice.
So that was pretty cool. That was a big one. Now it's just little like motion graphics and 3D projects. Nothing really massive at the moment.
That's really cool. So professionally, how long have you been working on animation, if you don't mind me asking?
It's been about 10 years now.
10 years?
Yeah.
And your level of passion, how does it compare to the beginning when you actually just started fresh, green?
Uh, it's difficult. It ebbs and flows.
Right.
Sometimes you feel really passionate about it, and then sometimes you kind of just hate it. At least I do sometimes.
It's a job,
It
right?
yeah, it becomes a chore sometimes. So
Yeah.
it goes up and down with my mood and what I'm working on and what's going on. And if it's a really intense, stressful job, sometimes you really wish you were doing something else. But I
That's
am
for
very
sure.
passionate about it as a whole. I was
Yeah,
less
exactly.
passionate when I started, actually, so I'm a lot more passionate about it now.
Oh, that's great. That's really cool. But do you feel like the all the ups and downs that you go through as you power through them is what makes you like a professional animator in terms of like being able to power through and be professional and still deliver the goods when you feel really crap,
I definitely think so, yeah. When you're just starting out, you don't actually realize how important that part of it is.
right?
And it's kind of like when you're in a relationship, and you go through a really difficult time with them and you power through and then your relationship is stronger. I feel like it's kind of the same
That's
way
it. 100%.
because you've gone through all the stress and like sometimes it's terrible, sometimes it's
Yeah.
really bad, and you push through and you realize like your relationship with it is actually stronger.
It's 100%. Yeah, 100%. So like I've seen so many talented people just fall through the cracks because of that. And it's funny though, because when you are on the outside, you feel like this is definitely your dream, and then you make it, and then you're like, this is great. So now I can just like relax. But the opposite is true, right? Because you have to actually
No.
deal with all this. Sometimes you have politics, sometimes you have hard work and difficult clients and difficult directors and difficult people overall. And that becomes really challenging because you spend all this time trying to be an animator, and now that you're faced with all these other things that you didn't know how to deal with, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah. And powering through that and making sure that that becomes just normality is what then makes your career longevity kind of stick in a way,
Exactly. Yeah, I
right?
completely agree with that.
Yeah, it's funny though, because like I feel like your channel, just like mine, kind of deals with a little bit of that about like the realities of it all. And I think you deliver it so much better in terms of like being like 100% real. Like, you think it's like this? No, it's not.
I feel bad sometimes though. I feel like
Yeah.
I'm like turning people off it because I'm worried that I'm making it seem too hard.
No, but it's true though. That's the how it
Yeah.
is. That's the reality of it all. So Robyn, like obviously you went through your university and like, the troubles of getting a job, and now you got a job. At what point do you actually realize that you wanted to help people via YouTube, or you wanted to actually create a YouTube channel? Let's talk
I
about all these
just
things.
I knew, okay, so I thought back to how I felt when I was starting out, and it was so
Mm,
scary, and there was so much stuff I didn't know, and stuff that I could have known sooner that would have helped me a lot with my career and just in general, like knowing what sort of paths were possible for me, like career paths and options, because I had no idea. And then I've just seen a lot of people online who are really passionate about it, but they don't know how to go about it. And it is such a shame because
mhm.
there's so much talent out there and there's no guidance for people who have this talent. And then it's so daunting. So a lot of the time they just drop it and then they go for like some office job or something because it was just too daunting for them. And it's such a shame because there's so much talent and creativity out there.
Yeah.
And also just where I am in South Africa, there's, you know, a lot of issues with people getting jobs and employment. And I just feel like it's really unfair
Yeah.
that you have these privileged people who have all this information at their fingertips. They can ask anyone to help them. They've got connections. And then there's all these other people who have just as much, if not more, creativity. They just don't have as many resources.
Agree. 100% agree. Yeah. It's just like, it's something that I've seen throughout, and it has happened to me as well. And I feel like having all these things at your fingertips and not being able to, and just being lazy about it, and not only being lazy, but complaining about life being too difficult, or
Yeah.
like animation is too difficult, or art or creativity or whatever it is. I think it's kind of like I don't know, in some way shameful for the person to kind of feel that way, because all these people that are out there that are willing to work hard, are willing to put creativity into the table and kind of like make something better of themselves. Maybe they didn't have the same opportunities as everybody else, and they actually get stuck in a certain
Yeah.
position, and it's kind of sad. So yeah, I can relate to that. Yeah. So do you feel now that you have your YouTube channel, now that it's actually growing and all that stuff, do you feel like you're making that difference? Do you feel like you're actually touching people and actually kind of like getting that change?
Yeah, I definitely do. I get a lot of messages now from people, just like really heartfelt, nice messages saying that, they really wanted to be an animator, but they didn't know what to do, and they thought that it wasn't, you know, an option for them. And my videos helped them to see what they could do. So now, even if they couldn't necessarily afford to go to university, I've given them some guidelines, and I still intend to, make more videos helping people who can't necessarily go to college or university, and just, helping people decide what it is they actually want to do with their lives. So I've had a lot of really great feedback about that. I definitely do think that it is helping some people. Yeah.
That's great. That's really cool. Does that feel empowering? Does that make you keep going? What keeps you going on your YouTube? Is
That
it?
is what keeps me going. Otherwise, I would have
Yeah.
given up. If I felt like I wasn't making a dent, if I wasn't helping anyone, then it
Yeah.
would be pointless. Because I'm not just doing it, for my ego. I get
Yeah.
bored of stuff easily, so I would just give it up after a while if it was just for that. But
Agree.
knowing that I'm helping people, that's what keeps me going.
That's amazing. That's really, really cool. So like, what's next for Robyn?
I don't know. I'm just going to trundle along the same way and
Yeah.
just see what happens. I don't plan. I'm not good at planning. And if I plan, then I'll just get disappointed if it doesn't happen. So I'm just going to carry on the way I'm going and see what happens.
Makes sense. And something that I wanted to touch upon is like this, like sorry if this gets a little bit too heavy, but like I've seen some of the stuff going on in South Africa at the moment, right? Does that affect you in any ways? Like you personally, creativity, like animation, work wise, and all that stuff, or does it feel very much like it's just normal?
No, not at all. I think, it's affecting everyone at the
Yeah.
moment. It's been very heavy because obviously we've got looting and riots and a lot of violence and stuff at the moment. A lot of the stores, are not stocked. They're shut down because they're trying to just protect people.
Yeah.
We're in another lockdown because of COVID. There's just a lot going on for everyone. So it's extremely stressful. So I think it does kind of take a toll on your energy. Like you just feel exhausted and anxious all the time.
Yeah.
Because I have anxiety, and it's just been like through the roof the past couple of weeks, because you're just worrying about your family, you're worrying about your friends, you're worrying about everyone around you, even people you don't know. You're worried about what people are having to deal with and go through, just a few blocks away from you. So it definitely has been taking a toll. It's difficult.
That is insane, man. Because the thing is, like, South Africa was doing so well for so long, right? It almost feels like it's a step back. And it was like a
Yeah.
beacon. Like, you probably don't know this, but my parents, like where I'm from originally, is actually some tropical islands off the west coast of Africa. They call Cape
Oh,
Verde.
yes.
You
It's
know Cape
beautiful
Verde?
there. I've been
Yeah,
there, yes.
it's amazing.
It
So
is.
that's where I'm from natively. That's where my parents and my family is from. So peaceful islands. There hasn't been war, there hasn't been any problems or anything, but definitely, like, I think like the rest of Africa, people look up to South Africa, right? Because it is the shining beacon of Africa in terms of like, this is what you could be in the future.
Yeah.
So yeah, seeing South Africa going through this now, after going through so many problems, in the early 20th century, it's a bit of a shame. It feels like a massive regression.
It is. Well, yeah, it's kind of up and down here. We've always had like political problems. Mandela was kind of our beacon. I think that was like
That's
our
it.
apex, bringing peace and stuff. And just, yeah, it has
Yeah.
been difficult from that, those high hopes,
That's
coming
it.
down.
100%. Yeah, I could hear Mandela talk for days and I'd not get tired. He had such an amazing way of talking.
Yeah.
It's really cool. Really cool. Anyways, going back to animation, Robyn. So like for you, obviously being in South Africa, some of the points that I actually kind of touch upon here in this channel, and some of the questions that I hear all the time is about like people coming from abroad, and then there's always this discussion about working in Europe, working in the US, Canada, all these things. How do you feel about all that? How do you feel being an animator in South Africa. How do you feel about working abroad? Or are you content working where you are, and why?
There's a few different factors to that. Obviously, I do sometimes wish, and I have wished that I could move somewhere, a more sort of central animation hub, work on the stuff all the cool kids are working on, Nickelodeon, Netflix, DreamWorks, whatever. Obviously, there was a time I wanted to do that.
Sure.
But, there's other factors. Like, I wouldn't want to leave my family. I'm very happy here as a whole. It's a beautiful country. We have great weather.
For sure.
There's a lot of things I love about living here. So I don't think I would actually move if I had the option, although there are a lot of things. I'm kind of jealous of people who are just born, in the right place.
Yeah, with their family around them.
Exactly. Yeah. They have people there already. They can just go, to Disney down the street and get a job there.
That's it.
But, this is where I was born. This is where I live. This is where my family is. So I'm happy with my career. I'm not unhappy with it. So
that's amazing. That is amazing. See, because I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but at least that's how I see it. Like, the longer you are an animator, the more you start realizing that you can actually find opportunity no matter where you are.
Yeah.
And it's all about expectations, because everyone starts with that idea of like wanting to be an animator for either Disney or Blizzard, depending if you're in games or film or whatever.
Yeah.
But then as you progress, you kind of realize that life takes you through different paths and all that stuff. And you can continue kind of plowing through that way of like, I still want to work at Disney if the conditions are right. But life is about so much more than that, right? I mean, family, happiness, being together with other people, especially in these COVID times. Like, I think that counts for much more than just career, just
definitely growth. Definitely. Yeah, it's not all about the career. That's what you eventually realize. Like, you have the fire burning in you when you first start out, and it is like you say, like, you have these dreams, but I've definitely come to realize family is way more important than any of that stuff.
Right. And how have you been coping with COVID, work, family, stability overall?
It also, it has its ups and downs. Some things I really loved, like just being in our own little bubble at home, being forced to stay at home, like me, my husband, and our son. It's been really nice, especially when it first happened and like my husband couldn't go to work. I could still work remotely, so I was still working the entire time, but just having them there around me all the time, no outside interruptions, that was actually really nice. But the extended family, the fact that you can't see like grandparents, aunts and uncles, stuff like that, it's very heartbreaking. Especially when you have a little kid and he's growing up and they can't be around to see him grow up. It's terrible.
Agree.
And he can't play with other kids. Like, you can't take him to a playground to play with other kids. So all that is just very difficult.
100%. Yeah. So like we have a 7-month-old, and she has never met her grandparents or any family.
Terrible.
So it's been a while. It's been a while, and it takes a toll, that's for sure. Because after a while, you kind of wonder, when is this going to end? And because there's always this ups and downs, opening, closing, and changing of colors, amber and red and green and whatever it is, it keeps you on your toes. But
it does.
Fingers crossed, better times ahead. One thing's for sure, I think what we were talking about before about working locally and staying put and not moving about so much, I think that became a much bigger element now, because the animator journey, it's a lot of it in the beginning is jumping around, right? Different jobs, different places, different parts of the world, which is great. But I think this COVID situation has kind of like highlighted to everybody that maybe staying next to your kin is the best thing we can do, right?
Yeah. Also, people have realized now you can do so much remotely.
Yeah.
So you can work for a huge game studio from the comfort of your own home in your own country. So
yeah, and that is the benefit of all this. I feel companies have realized that actually it turns out that as long as we're okay with the time difference, Robyn works in South Africa, but it's okay for her to work here and just have the meetings a little later, a little earlier if she's okay with it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So that's really cool. Talking about that, does that mean that maybe in the future you might actually tackle one of your dream jobs or one of the places that you want to work on, as long as they're okay for you to work from South Africa?
Absolutely. Definitely. 100%. Yes.
Okay. That's great. That's really, really cool. By the way, chat, anybody that actually wants to ask Robyn some questions, please drop them in the comments in the chat. more than happy to actually answer them. Seems like we have about nearly from 20 to 30 people watching, so people seem to be enjoying the chat, which is great. Yeah. So what I wanted to ask you as well is about, obviously you have art on your website that you do as well, and you have your own style, and I've seen some of your artwork. Do you do 2D on the side whenever you're not animating to kind of like keep that
I
that
do,
muscle
yes.
going?
I just love it so much. You know, I always draw, always, I love 2D animation as well. I'm a 3D animator, but I just love 2D animation, just, you know, as a fun thing to do. So
That's cool.
I just love it so much. 2D is, you know, it's what I love.
So is that where you started? Were you like an illustrator before you were an animator?
Well, yes, I actually wanted to be an illustrator professionally. I wanted to either do, you know, comic books or illustration or something like that, but I didn't know how to do it. There weren't any like courses or anything. And I think I mentioned already, like my mom needed me to go to college. So I couldn't find any college courses or anything. So that's why I ended up doing animation. But that was, you know, originally kind of my dream.
The dream.
Of what I wanted to do, yeah.
That is amazing. I can relate to that so much because I was the same.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was exactly the same. I actually grew up like from the age of 13, 14. This is what I wanted to do. I wanted to illustrate comics. So I spent most of my teenagehood just reading comics and illustrating. And yeah, I like for sure, like I knew that by the early 20s, I was going to be a comic illustrator. And I was going to work for Marvel.
An animator now?
Because I realized, like you, that there was no degrees in being an illustrator. You had to be a freelance all the time.
Yes.
And at the point in time, I was broke. I was 100% broke, living in London, high rent. And I thought, if I need to actually, if I want to be more employable, I need a piece of paper that can tell people like, you've done this for 3 years. Yeah. So the only course that I could find that was probably like you, only course I could find that was close to illustration was animation.
Exactly.
But that actually unlocked the animation passion. So it was amazing. It worked out in the end. Great.
That is exactly what happened to me. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool. So you have obviously been doing this for a while, which is 10 years, right? Mm-hmm. What is like the top tip that you can give to anybody that actually wants to be an animator?
Gosh, there's so many tips that I would actually give new animators. I think the main tip, which a lot of people don't realize how important it is that, especially if you are doing a college course or something, don't rely only on the coursework. Like, you need to do your own projects on the side. Mm. You need to further your knowledge as much as possible in any way possible. Like, animation is not just, it's not the sort of job you can just do 9 to 5 and then you go home and you don't think about it at all. Like, you need to constantly be trying to further yourself and learn new things, learn new software, learn how to better use the software you're working in. Just always try to be learning and growing. That is very important.
That's for sure. Yeah, it never stops, right?
Yeah, it will never stop.
Yeah. That is something that I think I don't know how you felt, but to me, when I found my first job, I genuinely thought, this is it. I just have to do my 9 to 5 and then learn from others around work. I can go home and watch Netflix and stuff and never have to do anything at home ever again. It's going to be amazing. And turns out you have to work as hard, if not more, after the fact.
Exactly.
It's the only way you know how to grow. You can actually keep growing, which is great. Yeah. But no, that's a great tip though. That's really, really cool.
Thank you.
So we have a few questions now, which is cool. We have Rockphonic asks, would Robyn like to work where you work, Harvey?
Where do you work, Harvey?
I work in Scotland, in Edinburgh. It's a company called...
would love to work in Scotland. What's the company?
It's a new company called Build a Rocket Boy, started by ex-Rockstar people and stuff. Yeah.
Like actual rock stars.
Like actually Rockstar. Yeah, exactly. Like no, Rockstar, the studio that actually creates games like GTA and all that stuff. So yeah. It's a cool studio.
It sounds awesome. Maybe. Yes, I would. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Cool. So we got a yes for that. That's amazing. We actually have We have 3 female animators that are like amazing. They're super cool. So shout out to Sophie and Chris, and Fawn as well. She's my coordinator. They are all super talented people working with me right now. And
That's awesome.
there's something to be said about having male, female, everybody in the same, and multiracial animators in one team. I'm super lucky that we have people from Asia, obviously Africa, myself, and Europe, and male, female, and it creates an environment that is so much more relaxed
It
because
does.
because everybody brings new things, right? Like either
Exactly, yeah.
culturally or like racially, and like it's so cool.
Yeah, there's no room for like those cliques. Like sometimes it's like the guys all hang out with the guys
Yeah,
and
it's
then like
horrible.
the girls by herself. So it's really nice, when everyone's from different places and different,
Yeah,
experiences. It's great.
it's really cool. Is your job like this nowadays as well?
Yeah, my team is also pretty mixed up. We're actually majority female. It wasn't planned, it just happened that way, but it's really great
Nice.
because obviously, in Africa also
Yeah.
you're going to be multiracial.
Oh, for sure.
So it's
Yeah,
great.
yeah,
We've
yeah.
got so many people from all over the place. It's
That's
really awesome. It
amazing.
gives a great dynamic to the team.
That's cool. Do you have black animators in your team?
We don't, but we have like, designers and because we all work together.
You all
So
work together. Yeah.
yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's like one of my things that I have is like I interviewed a few here, but more power to all the black animators out there because it's a minority, super tiny, a sliver in the animation industry. So it always brings a smile to actually kind of like see more races in general just doing animation because we are
Well, you
so
should
good.
definitely come here. There are a lot of, obviously, there's a lot of black animators here. It's
Of course.
Africa. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, please get me in touch with some of them. That'll be amazing.
absolutely.
Cool. So lots of good questions coming through, which is really cool. Let me just see. Oh, here's a good question. What would you suggest for students in university? How to choose career path? There's a lot of possibilities, animation, illustration, etc. Is it better to be a generalist?
I think that very much depends on where you are, like the industry where you are. For instance, here,
Mhm.
generalists do tend to find jobs more easily because companies, studios, people want someone who can do pretty much everything. So here, definitely, I would say it's better to be a generalist because you can struggle a bit. We've got like a few studios that will hire specialists, like Triggerfish and stuff. Obviously, you need to be the best at what you do, so you have to be a specialist because
Yeah,
that's what you're putting all your concentration into.
for sure.
So it also depends on what you want to do. So if you want to work for Disney or DreamWorks or a game studio being a character animator or something like that, then you need to specialize because you need to be good enough in that thing to work at one of those places.
Yep.
So it definitely depends where you want to see yourself, say in like 5 years' time. Like, where do you envision yourself working? What sort of industry is it that you think you're going to be working in? What sort of studios? And also, like, I get bored easily, so it's nice for me to be a generalist because then I can do a bunch of stuff like all the time. I'm not focusing on one thing all the time.
Exactly.
So
Yeah,
it very much depends on you.
it's about a lot about a personal choice, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, and I know, yeah, and I will add to that as you mentioned that like depending on the dream place that you want to work on, I think you should mold yourself after that. So if you are like Robin, that gets like bored easily, then generalist definitely allows you to kind of like broaden your horizons much more because you can actually do a bunch of stuff and work in different places and all that stuff. But if you want to work in a AAA company, doesn't matter if it's like a movie company or a games company, you're actually going to get funneled into this one thing that you need to do all the time, to the point that I know companies that have the animator that does only first person animations or only third person animations. And you become very much specialized in what you do. And then when you become that guy or that girl, then you are that for the foreseeable future that you are in that company. So awesome advice, Robin.
Thanks, you too.
Um, so here's another one from Omkar from India. Just started his animation journey. Some tips for job searching. And my dream is to open a studio later on in India, which is great. It's really much power to you. I really hope it works out. That'll be amazing. We need more studios for sure, animation studios. So yeah, Robin, if you have anything, That would be great.
So I don't know, obviously, like your background, if you've been to college or if you're just starting out yourself. I would suggest if you're like very, very noob, like just beginning, I would suggest getting, small jobs online, maybe on Fiverr or freelancer, stuff like that, if you're struggling to find jobs where you are. Because now, online, there's so many places you can get jobs, and just doing small jobs and sort of building up your skills and your portfolio as you go. And then sort of just, increasing your rates as you go, building up your reel until it's really strong enough to then go and apply to studios and stuff like that if you're looking for a full-time gig as well. So I think just, starting out small jobs, maybe not super big budget jobs, just so that you can build your skills and build your portfolio first before you start putting yourself out there, at the bigger places.
Yeah, that's actually a really good tip. I never thought about Fiverr as a place to actually go for jobs, but it's true though. You can find like Upwork, Fiverr, all these websites that kind of like
Yeah,
get a
you're
lot
pretty
of
much
freelance,
guaranteed to get a gig on a place like that. So if you are
right?
struggling, yeah, that's
That's
how I
amazing.
started. That's what I did.
Yeah, because then it doesn't really matter where you are in the world, right? Because, like for example, if you are, I don't know, in a place where a low rate will actually go a long way for your lifestyle, then it means that you're much more value for somebody that is in the US, for example, right? They can actually
Exactly.
afford much more. So yeah, that's a great tip. Cool. So thanks a lot for the question, Omkar. And we have a really good question by a friend. How's it going? Are there any new animation tools that you're excited about? Anything you'd like to learn next? Robyn.
Oh gosh. I really want to try and learn, the game engines like Unity, because I've fiddled around with them a bit, but I haven't really produced anything of note out of them. They're not new animation tools, but that is something that I do want to learn, in the future.
Cool.
Yeah, it's not a new thing, but that is,
No, but it's
something I'm
super useful
excited
though.
about. Yeah.
So are you saying that as in you would like to work in games at some point, do you think?
I think I would. I think, like I said, I like to try new things. And I haven't worked in games. I mean, I do VR games, but it's different, it's not the same
Right.
sort of thing. So
Yeah.
we use Spoke at the moment as like our engine, but I would really like to try something else, something different.
That's cool. Awesome. Yeah, like for me, I think it will be Blender.
Really? Have you not tried Blender yet?
I haven't tried Blender, and I keep hearing nothing but great things. And I really want to like kind of like, I know that the grease pencil that they have is amazing,
Oh, yeah, it
and
is.
I think that the graph editor, I heard great things about it as well.
I
No,
mean,
it's
if
more
you
or
used to,
less.
I mean, if you're going from Maya to no,
No,
Maya is the best with the graph editor. I
that
think
is
I
true.
use Blender. I use Blender at work.
Oh,
So
you do? That's amazing.
yes, yes.
That's
So
cool.
comparing the graph editors, I would say Maya's better.
Mine's
But
better.
it's an awesome tool. Blender is great. So yeah,
Yeah,
definitely try that.
awesome. So what are the missing features you think that Blender doesn't have that Maya has for you?
Oh, there's quite a few. In Maya, you can set like the in between keyframes, and you've got like your main keyframes and stuff.
Yeah,
So like yeah, so things like that. It's a lot. It's lacking a lot with the animation section. I could go on forever, like the
however.
ghosting and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
it's definitely a lot weaker in terms of actual animation, but it has a lot of other cool tools. So it's a very
that's
cool
cool.
app. I'm not like bashing Blender. It's awesome.
No. Yeah, yeah. Like I know that that's like they have a long ways to go when it comes to kind of like getting to the point where Autodesk is. But then again, they've been doing this for like 30 years now or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, like the way you animate in Blender reminds me of like when I started. There's this tool, I don't know if you ever used in Maya, called Dope Sheet,
Yes.
right? It's kind of the same, right? You see all the
Yeah.
controllers at all times, and then you see what's keyed, and then you can go in vertical and horizontal lanes and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'll be okay with animating in Blender, but
Yeah,
maybe
no, it's fine. It's fine. It just doesn't for like all the nice fine tuning and how you can really like get into the nitty gritty of it. It is missing just a few things, but you definitely can.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Good review. Here's another one. So Adam asks this. He's also in Africa, which is cool, Ghana, right? The motherland. Do you think it's worth worth to hold on and work in the industry here since it's starting to pick up in Africa as a whole? That's cool. Perfect question.
I definitely think so. The rate of growth that I saw here in South Africa from when I started 10 years ago, it's been insane. It's definitely exponential. Like you think it's really slow, and then it just picked up incredibly in the last few years. So I definitely think, in the other countries of Africa, I've seen a lot of really amazing stuff coming out of them, like from Nigeria and stuff. And I think it's definitely going to blow up. So definitely hold on, I think.
That's cool. Now you know, Adam. That reinforces once again what you mentioned about staying put, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because there's something to be said about staying put and then helping the upcoming talent. Because if South Africa becomes the next big hub of animation, then they can actually thank Robyn for being one of the first animators there.
I've
Just
been here
setting
from the
trend.
beginning.
Right. That's really cool. So here's a question from Peter. He asks to talk a little bit about your involvement with the rookies. I feel like it's important for aspiring artists to know about it. I noticed you've done it. Cool. Yeah. So about 3 questions there. So.
Okay. So number 1, my involvement with the rookies. So they are just such a great platform, and I think they saw that we have very similar sort of views and goals in terms of helping new animators and people who are trying to get their footing in the industry, because that's also what they're focused on. Like with the rookie awards and stuff like that, their aim is to help elevate people in the industry who, are just starting out. So that's why we just sort of decided they use some of my videos on their platform. I do some of the, the animation reviews, because again, like sometimes people need a mentor and they need feedback. They're not going to varsity or college, and they need some feedback on their shots, and they don't know where to go for that. So that's what these, animation review live streams are for. So if you don't have a mentor or something to give you feedback on your shot, you just send it in, to us, and then I give you some feedback on your shots. So that's what that's about. Yeah, we just have very similar goals, in helping people in the industry who are looking for a bit of a foot up, some exposure, some support.
That's great. Sorry, for those that don't know, what is the rookies?
Oh, yes, the rookies. It's this platform. So if you just look for like the rookies.co, I think it is, or they have a YouTube channel. They're just a platform for helping animators. You can join their site as a rookie, and you get like different levels of where you are, like in your progression, in your like levels of expertise and stuff like that. And they just help you with a bit of mentoring, with a bit of like giving you connections in the industry, stuff like that.
That's really cool. So I'm just going to share it here for everybody to see. The Rookies. Looks like a really cool website, I have to say.
There's some amazing work. Like, I don't even know how some of these people are rookies, because it's just incredible what people do.
Yeah, looking at this, being a rookie when I started is very different than being a rookie now.
I know, right?
Sometimes
I feel bad about myself. I like, look at this stuff. Like,
look at
what?
this stuff. Amazing.
Yeah.
So is this a South African company, or is this like
No, they're Australian.
They're Australian? That's
yes.
Cool.
And they do the rookie awards every year. It's a really big competition where you like enter your work and stuff, and they have great, prizes. Yeah, if you look in contests, you'll probably see great opportunities for people. There's so much on here on the site. So
look at this stuff. Yeah. That's awesome. Do you get to actually do the awards, or like give awards to people?
I was one of the judges on the Rookie Awards, so you can, like, I was helping with the judging and stuff like that, and you do give people like different sorts of awards. Like, I can't remember what awards they are, but yeah.
Yeah, that is awesome, man. This stuff is so cool to actually see this thing pop up. It's really, really cool. It's encouraging as well, because nothing better than a challenge to actually get people hype and noticed out there, right?
Exactly. And then you've got that nice little badge to put like on your LinkedIn or whatever, say you won the Rookie Awards.
You won the Rookie Awards, exactly, which is really, really cool. Awesome. Cool. Well, thanks for the question. So more questions. Do you want to pick one, Robyn?
Okay, let me read down them.
You can rewind a little bit if you can't find anything. There's plenty of stuff.
My reel is not good enough to get hired. Do you guys have any ideas that don't cost a lot of money so I can make a good portfolio and finally get a job in this field? Yes, there it is.
Yeah.
So I think that very much depends on what it is about your reel that's lacking. You can't really say what the problem is if you haven't seen what shots are in there, if it's a term, if it's just like, a case of lacking in some, technical expertise, if it's the actual animation, if it's just that the shots are not strong enough shots. Like if you have 2 shots in your entire reel, then you need more different shots to show variety, So it's difficult to say what the reel is lacking without having seen it, but definitely make sure that your reel is not too long. It shouldn't really be more than, I would say, 1.5 minutes because people lose interest. You should start with your absolute strongest shot and end with your strongest shot so that they start out going, wow, this is really good. And even if the middle shots are not that great, they end off with, wow, okay, that was also really good. So they end off with like a good taste in their mouth, really, if they're looking at your reel. Make sure you've got, you're showing different things. So you don't want to have one animation project that you've just cut a few scenes out of and that's your entire reel because people can tell. And also try not to use, if you've done tutorials, don't use that in your reel because people will recognize that you just used a tutorial that you put straight in your reel. So that's just some advice I can give without having seen the reel.
Yeah. Yeah. Great advice. I think, as mentioned, like it's difficult to say without seeing the reel, but based on what I've seen, it normally boils down to 2 things. It's either lack of creativity or lack of skills is one of the 2, right? So like try to show your reel to other people, see what they say, especially friends, and they can be as ruthless as possible and just ask them, are my ideas original enough? Or does this look good? Especially people that don't know animation, they have a keen eye to know if this is good and this is not. They won't be able to tell you what it is, but they'll be able to tell you that something is off with it, which is really useful. And whatever they tell you, then try to actually work on that. Animation takes a long time. So for you to have a good reel, it will take you years. Like the reel that got me my first job was pretty rubbish. They just believed in me and they gave me a chance, which I'm thankful for. But it was not great.
Me, yeah.
Exactly. So there's an element of luck in here. So just keep on trying, submit, and
also,
work hard.
If people are, rejecting you, you can ask them for some feedback. They might just like give you a few little pointers. I had that with some of the places I applied to that rejected me, and I asked them and they did give me some really good feedback. So you could try that as well if you get rejected from some places.
That's it. Yeah. And make sure you have thick skin as well, because animation can get very personal because you spend so much time working on it. So after you spend 3-6 months working on one shot and you think it's the best shot ever and you show it to somebody and somebody looks at it and be like, this is really bad.
Yeah.
It hurts. When it hurts, it's difficult for you to actually have to swallow your pride and be like, so what's wrong about it? Right?
It really does hurt.
Yeah. So it takes a lot of practice, but after a while you get better at it. So make sure that you always ask for feedback no matter what, even if it's bad.
Definitely.
Yeah. You want to select another one?
I can't see any other questions. It's a lot of nice comments.
There is a lot of great comments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let the software wars begin. I'm not starting any wars, guys. I love all the software, okay? I'm just saying, I don't hate Blender. Don't come for me like the Blender stands, please.
Yeah.
I'm not starting wars. They're all great.
I have to say, I have felt a little bit of that because I do a lot of Maya stuff.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to actually see how people see what is paid for as evil and what is free.
Right? Blender's like,
good.
I'm not like trying to start anything, but it's a little bit like a cult because I've also done like a Maya video and people really come for you. Hey, they hate it. The fact that you have to pay for it. And obviously it's understandable because, it's difficult to afford software, but it's just an app. It's just software.
Exactly. And I mean, I'm all up for like open platforms that actually allow for people to kind of like just add things in, right? I remember the first time that I saw Blender, it was this bunny. I forgot the name of the short, but it was this
Big Buck Bunny.
Big Buck Bunny. That's what it was. Yeah. And that was the very first time people noticed Blender and like, wow, what is this thing? You did all this on a software that is for free.
Exactly.
That was really, really cool. but that must have been, I don't know, 15 years ago, maybe 20 years ago.
Yeah,
I
I
think.
also remember. I was like, what? That's
Yeah, that is
crazy.
amazing. And
Yeah,
Blender has made many strides since then.
yeah,
But obviously it takes a long time for you to actually get to the same point as software that has been in the market for years, right?
yeah, definitely. They've done
Yeah,
really
yeah.
well, though. It is amazing.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. I'm all up for it. This is why I'm so interested to actually try it out, so I can actually kind of like geek out about the things that they are doing better.
You should try it even just for Eevee. Like, seriously, it's
What is
amazing.
Eevee?
It's like the renderer, so like you can see straight away what you're doing. You don't have to sit and render every single frame. Like as
Really?
you're working, you see what it looks like. It's so quick to render. It's amazing. So even just for that, just
That's cool.
try
So
it out.
no Arnold pressing button to render, none of that
No,
stuff.
Arnold. Yeah,
That's amazing. That's
yeah,
cool. I'm looking forward to that.
yeah.
Yeah, so I'll just like allow the guys to have some time and ask you some more questions. But I would like to actually know much more about you, Robyn, in terms of like, I know that you said like you're just kind of going with the flow about what's next, but YouTube kind of gives you wings a little bit, right? Because
Does.
you feel much more confident. You feel much more like people now listening to you and all that stuff. Like just for all those that are out there that are looking, that are from your audience, where do you see yourself in YouTube like 10 years from now, 5 years from now, let's say?
It would be great if I could grow it a lot more. I mean, obviously there are ways you can use it to generate income and stuff so that you can spend more time on it. So, if it was a possibility to maybe make that a more full-time thing to help people, that is something that I've become really passionate about. It's just being able to help people, because
Right.
I do believe that once you get to a certain level in your career or your life, it's just like human decency to help the people that are, trying to get up to where you are. So it'd be really cool if I could do that in some way in like 5 or 10 years time. My channel's doing pretty well. So I don't think
Yeah.
that's impossible. But if it didn't happen, that would also be cool. I would just keep doing what I'm doing because I like the fact that I am helping people.
Yeah. And there's something to be said about like how niche animation is. I think this is why, because like we had a chat with JD like not long ago, another YouTuber, and yeah, like there's only so much you can grow within animation because
Yeah.
it's very niche, right?
Yeah.
And within that niche of animation, people that like animation, there's only a sub niche that wants to be animators,
Mm,
and then we are catered to those people, right? And
exactly.
how it is to actually kind of like animate and stuff like that. But fingers crossed, I think that there's more and more people out there that want to be animators, especially for
Yeah.
games. There's so
Yeah, it
many people
definitely seems
now.
like it. Yeah.
Yeah, so fingers crossed, like, people will see our content and think that is useful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Do you think you're gonna get there in terms of actually kind of like being independent and just like do YouTube full time? Would you
That's an
jump at the
awkward
opportunity?
question. What if I say yes and then I don't, and then it's embarrassing?
It's fine. People can look back in this video and be like, "Well, remember Robyn?
Uh,
She was."
yeah, my haters are gonna look back and laugh at me. I don't know.
They
I
won't.
think so.
They won't.
Uh,
Would you? Let me rephrase it. Would you like? Now this is also awkward. Wait. Would you actually do YouTube full time instead of working as an animator full time if you had the choice, or would you still do both if you actually could do it if you had that choice?
uh, I feel like I would, yes. If it was an option for me to do YouTube full time, I probably would, because it does require less from you than being a full-time animator.
Right.
I wouldn't be doing the sort of intense overtime that I have to do sometimes for my job now. Obviously, I've got like a family now, I've got a kid and stuff. So spending
Yeah.
time with him is one of the most important things in the world to me. So
That's sure.
if something was possible for me to be able to do that, spend more time with him, still have a good income and still somewhat be in the animation sphere, because I'd still be doing like animation projects, on my own. And then I'd be able to do whatever I wanted. So yes, I
That's
would if
great.
I could.
Well, if it helps you, I feel the same way. I feel exactly the same way. Like, even though I'm doing all these exciting things that I'm doing during the daytime and doing the job that I would like to do for years and stuff, I think YouTube is so much more rewarding because you're
Yes.
helping people. It's bigger than animation because you're helping people,
Yes.
right?
Yes, exactly.
Which is great. And you know what's good? So how old is your kid, if you don't mind me asking?
He'll be 3 in 2 months.
3? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So I have nearly 5 and a 7-month-old, and my 5-year-old the other day, she was here in the office, like putting my hat on and my headphones and stuff. And then at some point she said, "Daddy, when I grow up, I want to do exactly what you do." She doesn't know what I do, but it's really cool.
That's so cute. I love that.
And it's funny though, because all this time I'm thinking it might be taking a little bit time from me spending time with my family, even though I spend most of my time with them. But then seeing them looking up at you because they see that you do cool stuff, they don't know exactly what you do, but you do cool stuff and all that.
Exactly.
Then it kind of like flips things around. It almost like, you know what, turns maybe this is actually a cool thing, right? Being on YouTube and doing all these things.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, that's so beautiful.
so yeah, I don't know. It's cool. It gave me like a new strength to actually kind of keep going, you know, because it's hard. You doing these YouTube videos is hard.
It is difficult. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. So we have more questions now.
Nice.
So Amandeep is asking, my goal is to become a character animator. Where should I start? Could you please recommend a course to begin with?
Well, I think Animation Mentor is very good. Like the work that I see come from them, it's really amazing for the most part. I've even seen people that I knew who weren't that strong as character animators, and they'd been doing it for a while, like animating for quite a few years. They weren't juniors or anything, and they did, an Animation Mentor course, and it really, really leveled them up a lot. So I think there's definitely value in their courses.
That's true. Yeah. And there's a few variants of Animation Mentor out there. iAnimate is another one that is really, really good.
Yeah.
And I think there's more and more people are popping out there that do one-on-ones now as well. Animators that do like for a little bit of money, you can just do one-on-ones. So I think that's really cool. Depends on what the person is looking for as well, right? So and you do this thing with the rookies as well, right? Like the reviews.
Yes. So, our thing is just that they send in whatever they've animated, their shots and stuff, and then I just give them a bit of feedback on that, like criticism and stuff like that.
Okay, cool. So now go to the rookies and then ask for Robyn.
Yeah, just go onto the rookies and join the rookies. It's free, and you'll get a lot of value from that anyway. So
that's it.
Yeah,
exactly. Here's another one by Usman. The animation dream that you not dare speak of. So that means that we shouldn't speak about it here.
Exactly. I've never dared to let it out of my deep, dark soul. So now I'm going to do it in front of all these strangers.
No, but if you feel like it, Robyn, do you have one?
Well, like I said before, I've had the dream of working at DreamWorks or whatever. I'm kind of over that now. I feel like movies would be a little too stressful, but I would love to work on, maybe like a series, like a children's series or something like that for Netflix or something like that. That's probably like my deep secret dream. I don't think I would like to own my own studio because I just feel like it would be too stressful and too demanding on my time for where I am in my life right now.
Yeah.
So I don't want to own a studio, but I would love to work on like a series, even if it wasn't a kid series, even an adult series. I think that would just be a really nice experience.
Nice. Here's another one. Following up from this, is there anything in animation so far throughout your 10 years of experience that has happened organically and you found yourself in a place that you didn't expect in terms of like position or leading people or projects or anything like that?
Definitely. I actually started animation because I thought that I'd be able to like not speak to anyone. I'd just be behind my computer, like animating away, not having to interact with like anybody else. Like I thought I'd have my director telling me what to do, and that would be like the extent of it. But now I lead the department. I'm an HOD, and I never thought I would get to that. I've always been a very shy, reserved person. I'm definitely an introvert, and I never would have dreamed that I would be like, leading people and stuff like that. So that was a surprise. I just woke up one day and I was like, hey, look where I am. Who would have thought?
What's the best part about leading a team, do you think?
telling people what to do. No, I'm joking. um, I think it's just being able to, manage time and have that control. I'm not like a control freak, but just knowing that that's in my hands, because I do like to know that I can manage those things. And if something goes wrong, I blame myself. I'm not going to go and blame anybody else, because
Right.
it was up to me. And I also just enjoy the relationships that we have. Like in our department, we're all really good friends. Like all of us as animators, it's a really great group.
That's great.
So I like, being a part of that.
Perfect. Yeah. So we actually have here somebody from my team, Kyle Chapman. We'll bring a question that he asked in just a second. But yeah, I completely agree with you. I think the teamwork, making a team work, it's the best thing about actually leading other people. And
Exactly.
I don't know if you feel the same way, but it sounds like it. Like for them to see you not as a boss, but as a support person and a friend and
Yes.
somebody that is there for them,
Yes.
is incredibly valuable. And you need to earn it. It's not just something
Yes.
that's the bit that you need to earn, because anybody can be a lead or director or somebody that is in charge and can give orders, but for you to earn the respect of others and make them like really like you are there for them, and
Yes.
they know that you got it. It's just another level.
Yeah. I definitely learned a lot from, my superior when I first started working there. Like, because he was always like that. He was always very collaborative, very caring about all of us. So I definitely, saw how great he was. And now we're, colleagues together. And it's just a really great feeling. And I learned that from him, like how to
That's
be a
great.
really good leader.
That's
So I
great.
definitely owe it to, him for
Yeah.
doing that.
And see, like, that to me shows a lot of humility, and that's like an incredible important skill to have as like a person that actually is in charge of other people, right?
Yeah.
That relating to others, and
Yeah.
being able to actually be like, I learned this from other people, therefore I need to actually pass it on to other people, and
Yes.
hopefully do as good as a job as this person. Yeah,
Exactly.
that's great. So once again, talking about Kyle Chapman, he's another really talented animator. He has a very deep question. So making art for an audience requires a level of understanding of human expectations and trends. How do you keep your finger on the pulse without falling into overly predictable patterns?
Gosh,
This is
that's
this is
a
a
hard
typical
one.
this is a typical Kyle question. If you know Kyle,
Why, Kyle? Why would you
this
do
is
that to me?
this is regular Kyle.
Gosh, I think you need to like be around people. Like you need to know where the people are at, because obviously there are changes in society. There's changes in the way people are feeling as a whole about certain things. There are changes in the way people express themselves, and you need to keep current with that, because otherwise, whatever you're making, whatever you're animating, it's not going to be relatable. So I think that's important. And I think it's also very important to mix with different people. Don't stay within your little clique. You need to make friends and form relationships with a range of different people, because there's so many different experiences that you can draw on, and it's very important to create well-rounded characters, to have that empathy and understand where your character is coming from and who they are as a person, which you can't do if you've had a very sort of sheltered, limited life in your experiences with other people.
Yeah, yeah, couldn't agree more. That is completely true. It's yeah, there's something to be said. Like all the good animators that I've met, they all had the same thing in common, and it was like a very diversified life that actually kind of like got them through many things, and they all became like super relatable to others and all that stuff, right? So I think this is how you actually get there, by always kind of like looking for something new, looking for
Yeah.
something that actually kind of like keeps you on your toes. And I think what you said before, Robyn, I think it applies for most animators about like being like bored easily, even though animation requires a lot of patience. But I
Yeah.
think we're always looking for what's next, right? Like I think
Yes.
the perfect example is like Pixar, Disney. DreamWorks, they've been doing all these amazing movies for so long. And then like Into the Spider-Verse dropped. And then we all kind of find is like, this is what I wanted all this time.
Yes.
Like, I'm so tired of this stuff. Of
I
the
thought it
other
was
stuff.
just me.
I
Yeah.
know, but everybody was like, oh yeah, this is the best anime. And when Pixar dropped, Toy Story was the same thing, right?
Yeah.
So I think we all kind of fall a little bit into that. Like, I just want something different. I just want to create something new. And maybe
Exactly.
kind of stems from the originality that we all have, right? Being creative.
Yeah.
So yeah, good question, Kyle. A little bit too deep, but a good question.
I think we did it though. I think we answered it pretty well.
Kyle, let us know if you actually answered it. Please do. So Arib asks, I want to switch my career from IT industry to animation. I watch lots of videos, including both of you. Thanks for the subscribe. And I want to know that it's very hard to land a job and it doesn't pay so well also. It's very hard to land a job that it doesn't pay so well also. So I'm guessing IT pays really well and animation doesn't pay so well.
Yeah, I think maybe. So this is what I was worried about with my videos, because I don't want people to get that impression like it's not a career you should get into, like it's very difficult to land a job and that it doesn't pay well. Right. I think the main thing is to go to the right places and don't let people take advantage of you, because there are a lot of people in studios that will try to take advantage of you. So as long as you're aware of that, there are a lot of opportunities to be paid very well. It just depends, where you're going to. So
yeah,
it can also be hard to land a job, yes, because there is, competition and stuff like that. But if you're very good at it, then it's not going to be as difficult. So that also comes down to, your work ethic and how much you're willing to put into it, growing yourself and getting better and building a really strong reel. Because once you're really good, I don't think you're going to struggle to find a job, to be honest. So
yeah.
There's a bunch of variables to that. It's not a bad industry. It's a great industry. There are pitfalls, obviously, but there are pitfalls in every industry you're ever going to get into. So these are just the ones that we have spoken about, just so that people can be aware of them.
Yeah. And here's what's next. I think people don't really realize, but whenever you're not working in animation and you're working on another industry completely different, it means that you have more time to be creative outside of work. Because what happens when you work in animation is that you are creative at work 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. You are absolutely exhausted. And then normally you have to go and do your side job or side gig or, create your show reel or better your show reel. And you're normally super exhausted creatively, and it's really difficult for you to kind of like be good at it. So yes. If you are in IT right now and want to get into the animation industry and you don't find any job that pays you as well as you want or is as good as you want, then consider it as time that you take in to make your show reel better, because you can spend a whole bunch of time doing that. And then if you have a good show reel, as Robyn mentioned, no one will actually say no to you. People will actually pay tickets for you to travel abroad, anything as long as you show talent. So just use that time wisely and just work on your show reel and make it the best you can, because then you're going to get a job that will pay you super well, and it's going to be your dream job with good people as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But yeah, great question, Arib. What else? So yeah, Kyle thinks that we did okay on the answer. So cool.
Okay.
Amazing. Yeah. So you've done freelance before, right, Robyn?
Yeah.
So Omkar here has a question. As a freelancer, what basis should I charge my client? Like time for render or time taken to animate, etc. What is the standard rate?
So I can't really give a standard rate, because it depends, what country you're in, what level of expertise you're at, that sort of thing. So I would suggest going on to maybe like PayScale or some site and looking in your specific country what your standard rates of pay are for the different levels. You can also just look at, jobs online, like people offering jobs. A lot of the time they'll say like what they're paying. And if that's the rate for a junior animator full-time, like their monthly salary, then you can sort of use that as your basis to break down into your daily rate as a freelancer. And then just make sure that you add on your costs for, software, hardware, all that stuff that you're going to be paying for extra as a freelancer that they wouldn't have to pay for working full-time, if that makes sense. So that's how you can get a sort of a basis rate for yourself, as long as you're going to be able to survive, because that's going to be your career. So just make sure that your daily rate is going to cover your costs for the month, your bills and stuff like that. The basis for charging your client, I would suggest either a daily rate or a per project rate. But if you're just starting out, you don't know how long you're going to take on a certain project. So I would suggest a daily rate if you're new to freelancing, because it's a lot easier then to estimate how long it's going to take you if you work it out per day. You definitely have to add render time on, because it's going to take, first of all, like actual hours to render, which is hours that you're not going to be able to be working on something else. So it's hours dedicated to that job. And it's going to, you know, put wear and tear on your hardware and stuff like that. So definitely charge for your render time as well. But estimate how long it's going to take you on that project and charge a daily rate. That's usually the best way to do it.
That's cool. That's amazing. Amazing feedback. So I hope that helped, Omkar. I cannot add anything to that because that was really good. So Robyn, we asked you just over the hour, and I know that you have a little one, so I don't want to take too much of your time. Thanks a lot for taking the time. Do you have any questions for either the guys out there, or maybe advice for anybody that actually wants to get into animation before you leave? I mean, they can go to your channel, obviously, which I'll bring it up here, but do you have anything that you would like to say to the guys here?
I would say that if you are really passionate about it, then just, you know, sometimes it can get daunting trying to look at the different paths you can take. Just try to educate yourself as much as possible. Don't panic though, because it does get a little bit overwhelming, but generally, you know, you'll be able to find something that you enjoy doing, and then you know that this is something that you can focus on doing. But also, don't make it your entire life. I've seen a lot of animators that do that. A lot of animators are like workaholics. I'm a workaholic myself, so I'm speaking from experience.
Me too.
Don't let it take over your life.
Sorry, I'm just sharing here your YouTube channel.
Thank you. That's my
As
channel.
well. Yeah.
So yeah, if you guys want to see any other stuff, it's there on my channel. But yeah, that's it really.
Really, really cool stuff. So yeah, Robyn, thank you so much. Sorry if I actually distracted you by actually clicking buttons, but that's
No worries.
amazing. That's amazing advice. Definitely go and check out Robyn's channel if you haven't so far, because she has amazing tips and she's really funny in her videos as well. It's really cool. So go and check it out. She has amazing advice for all animators out there. It's an amazing channel, and yeah, she's gonna go amazing places very soon, I'm pretty sure.
Thank you.
And yeah, Robyn, thanks for taking the time once again.
Thank you for having me on.
No problem. Yeah.
Cheers.
Make sure to keep in touch, and I hope we can do this sometime soon again.
Absolutely.
Awesome. See you. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.